So you can't sit there and assume that all these things are going to be perfect and we're going to win. Nobody's going to get in our way. That's not how this thing works. I think for me, you have to think, again, what is at stake for the left? What is at stake for the left if Trump gets in on a second term? Let's kind of talk about this. Elon Musk buys Twitter, turns it into X. We all saw Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi with Twitter files. What did we learn about the involvement
about to be good.
But not when it comes down to an assassination attempt on the president. That totally makes sense because what's the big deal, right? It's just an assassination attempt. We don't need to make any adjustments. We know what we're doing. And then 3, 4, 5 days later, you want to deflect and confuse the American people and say, oh, it's Iran. Iran was really behind this and trying to get everybody to look this way instead of why don't we investigate what the Secret Service got wrong? You know, there was something I was said the other day that I really liked, and I would love to quote who said this. The question was the following: how come the president doesn't fire anybody? Everybody bitched and moaned about the fact that Trump fired a lot of people. How come President Biden doesn't fire anyone?
Oh my God, this video is about to be good. This video is about to be good, man. I'm going to have to blurt out those curse words because this is going to be crazy. Oh my God. So in this video, Patrick Bet-David is going to go off about who's a better president between Trump. He's going to talk about Trump, Biden. He's going to talk about Trump and Obama. He's going to talk about the right, the left, and you know him. He does not hold back. So if you enjoy videos like this, hit that subscribe button. Let's get into it.
I think it was Elon Musk. I think Elon Musk said it, actually.
I think Elon Musk said the fact that how come President Biden doesn't fire anybody? It's a very valid question. In corporate environment, she would be fired like this,
also,
but unfortunately,
as the head
this
of
is
the
politics.
Secret Service, you have one job: preserving the life of the president. That is your job. You're in charge of a very large team. I mean, I once interviewed, and it was an incredibly powerful interview, Clint Hill, who was a member of the Secret Service detail on the day Kennedy got shot and killed. And he was Jackie Kennedy's personal bodyguard. He's the one you see jumping on the back of the car after the first shot goes off. And then he slightly stumbles, and he was very tearful with me because every day he thinks about, had he not stumbled, could he have taken the second bullet and saved JFK's life? So it was a very powerful interview. I think there were less than 10 people on that detail in Dallas that day. That was how big the Secret Service protection squad was for the president. There's now over 300. I've been around Donald Trump when he's landed at Stansted Airport in the UK. It's unbelievable what goes on. And when he takes off, the whole backup security and so on. I've been at Mar-a-Lago when it's been swarmed with Secret Service and so on. What I found extraordinary about what happened at the shooting was, A, there didn't seem to be many Secret Service agents there, given where we are in this election cycle and how polarizing Trump is. B, a lot of them seemed to be female. And yet when he appeared at the RNC, he was surrounded by a lot of very large men and no women in sight at all. Who made that decision? Why did they make that decision? Are they acknowledging that the female agents who were there that day were part of the problem? And if so, why were they put there in the first place?
They were put there because we're trying to increase more representation. And that's what the head of the Secret Service did. She had an initiative where she wanted 30% women in the Secret Service. Why did she want this initiative? I don't know. I genuinely do not know why she wanted this, but she did. I don't know why we need representation when it comes to protecting presidents or former presidents, but it's 2024, I guess. I don't know.
And so on and so on. These are all incredibly serious questions. I agree with you. If that bullet had been literally half an inch one way nearer Trump's head, he'd be dead. And if Donald Trump had been killed, all hell would have broken loose in America. I genuinely believe that. It would have been a tinderbox. And I think that we've very fortunately got to a place where he somehow miraculously survived. But heads should roll, and the first head should be the director of Secret Service. Let me move, Patrick, to another consequence of this, which is soaring support for Trump, both in the polls, but also just anecdotally, just so many people I know saying, you know what, given the state of Biden before this anyway, and his refusal to pull out of the race despite clearly being unfit for the office now, Trump's act of defiance in standing up and putting his arm up to the air and saying fight, fight, fight has really resonated with Americans who saw in a moment of unbelievable horror a guy who showed real leadership. the real defiance, a real strength of character, and real personal courage. That, to me, I've said this since it happened, in my estimation, has now propelled him back to the White House. I see no way, if he stays alive, and God forbid anyone else tries to copycat this, but if Trump is there on election day, he wins, doesn't he?
And Trump supporters have been saying this a long time, because even I've seen it. People who will email me or reach out to me who support Trump, they will say, we're under attack right now. And when I saw those comments a while ago, I honestly thought, you're a little crazy. You're a little crazy if you think that you're under attack, if you believe that Trump is under attack. There's no way Trump is under attack. But Trump was literally under attack. Like, we cannot ignore that. He was literally under attack. So Trump supporters have been saying this for a long time, that he's getting targeted, that people aren't taking him serious as a candidate, that people are giving him harsh treatment. They've been saying this for years, and now all of a sudden, when he had almost got shot in the head, people are finally taking it more serious. Come on, man. We have to do better. People have been saying this who support him.
I think if Joe Biden somehow, some way was able to get the Supreme Court to amend the Constitution and allow a president to get a third term, neither a Bill Clinton or a Barack Obama in their prime could beat a Trump today.
Yeah.
Neither one of them. Neither a Barack Obama or Bill Clinton. However, that's assuming everything's going to be fair play moving forward. That's assuming it's going to be fair play, which we know it's not going to be fair play.
What can they do, Patrick?
This is
just think about this logically, right? Trump was, completely buried politically 18 months ago. And then the left decided to weaponize the justice system against him in the most ridiculously over-the-top manner. And the first case they used is the Stormy Daniels payment case, which was such a pathetic, low-grade thing to drag a former president through a criminal court over. The conviction got him another $150 million in 10 days in fundraising, and absolutely nobody took it seriously whatsoever. And it had no damage to his reputation or his popularity whatsoever. So that all backfired. They tried to take him off ballots in various states. That hasn't worked. We've had someone try to shoot him now. That hasn't worked either, thank God. But they've literally chucked everything that they can think of, both the Democrats, the liberals, lunatics. I mean, you put it all together, this has been one of the most concerted attempts to thwart somebody becoming president again I've ever seen anywhere in the world. And yet there he is.
And it begs the question, because a while ago, people were saying that they kind of altered the polls or whatever. There was a big conspiracy that Trump was saying that people had it out to get him, that he already knew before he was president that he had the popular vote, but they weren't going to let him in office anyways. This kind of begs the question, how much truth was in everything he was saying? Like, really think about it. Really think about it. When was the last time a president was shot at? It does not happen. Especially in the 2000s, it does not happen. Somebody had a rifle on the roof aimed at Donald Trump. I don't know how they even got a ladder to that building and no one seen them. They were like, how does this happen? So if we're just going to openly watch this happen, openly see a president get targeted, how often does this happen that we just don't notice it as the people?
Great place of optimism. But then there are people that get paid to think about what the enemy would do to divide and conquer and play their own games. Look, the New England Patriots one year almost went undefeated. They were 16-0, but they lost to the Giants. So you can't sit there and assume that all these things are going to be perfect and we're going to win. Nobody's going to get in our way. That's not how this thing works. I think for me, you have to think, again, what is at stake for the left? What is at stake for the left if Trump gets in on a second term? Let's kind of talk about this. Elon Musk buys Twitter, turns it into X. We all saw Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi with Twitter files. What did we learn about the involvement of the New York Post tweet a couple days before the election? What did we learn about Biden's camp communicating with Twitter at the time saying you can't allow this to happen? What did we learn about it? They were involved. So what if Trump gets in and all of a sudden brings in individuals to investigate FBI files? What about if there's CIA files? What about if there's DOJ files? What about if there's Merrick Garland files? What if there's all these files that we see with email that you can't just delete these emails because you're dealing with the government? What if we get access to that information? What would we really learn about this? Could this be one of those situations where, if you remember back in the days, where J. Edgar Hoover was frightened after going after the mob because they had certain intel on him as being a cross-dresser, and at the time that was frowned upon. So it's like, the mafia doesn't exist, the mafia doesn't exist, the mafia doesn't exist. Then all of a sudden, Rudy Giuliani goes and finds a professor, I think at Rutgers University, that says if you are going to take the mob down, you have to do with the RICO law. And then he comes in, and next thing you know, we see 240-something mob arrested, going in cop cars. Like, what just happened right now with this whole situation? What if that takes place? What if that's what they fear? What if they're worried all this stuff's going to leak? What if they're worried that RFK is going to join Trump's camp and he's going to go after Fauci, NIH, CDC, WHO? What if? These are things you have to consider. So if you thought this protection is at risk, Piers, question for you and your viewers. What would you do if you were the leader of the Democratic Party, knowing everything could potentially be exposed by the guy that has the following that wants that to happen? What would you do to prevent it from being in the office? And by the way, do you think you would stop after what just happened this past Saturday? I'm not going to be in a naive community and say, no, that's it, they're going to let him go in there. I think they're going to do whatever they can the next 112 days or whatever days are left to make sure he doesn't get in there.
I mean, I think the really big question for the Democrats is the thing that's been off the table now for the last few days since the assassination attempt is whether Biden should stay as the Democrat nominee. Most Democrats seem completely torn. The majority I've seen talking out about this seem to think he absolutely can't. I mean, it's sort of ridiculous to think he could do 4 more years in office when he can barely seem to remember what day it is. If they were able to come to their senses, and they would have to bring Biden to his senses, which he may not have the faculty to do.
And fast forward into the future, Biden did drop out. But I remember that a lot of Republicans or people, even a lot of people on the left, were saying that Biden is just not physically and mentally fit to be president right now. It's not even about his policies. It's just about him as a human. I don't even know if it was a point where we can all say, is he even capable of, being president? Is he all right? We didn't know if he was okay. We genuinely did not know if he was okay. Now it's a little better, like since Kamala's in it now, I guess. But he was just, even in the debate, we were watching him speak, and we were saying, what is going on here, man? Are you good?
But that is not their problem. Their problem right now isn't whether they're going to be able to bring in a nominee to beat him. There is this many people that can do it today. This many people. By the way, if you watch the scene, everybody knows what it is to be a parent. And everybody knows what it is to be a son and a daughter. Most people do. If you're the son and a daughter and you have a loving relationship with your father, somebody you admire, all people need to do is to go see when President Trump walked into the RNC with the badge, with the little Band-Aid on his ear, and you can tell it wasn't the typical Trump. It wasn't the Trump that comes in with the head held high and look who I am. It was a very different Trump. This is not the same human being anymore. Listen, there was a book written many years ago, Piers, by a guy named David and Goliath, and he talks about what happens to human beings when they have a close call with death. You're no longer the same person anymore. You're just not. You're a complete different human being. And then when he walks up and he's shaking hands with Tucker, then he shakes hands with Byron Donalds, then he shakes his son's hand with his left hand. And you see Junior makes eye contact with his dad. Replay that. Every son, every father, every parent will see the pain of that son looking at his hero saying, I almost lost my dad. Everybody relates to that. Now, maybe the people on the left that are like, man, this is ridiculous. This is heartbreaking. I can't even, stomach this, watching this. I feel the pain, but I can't say that publicly because there's no way I'm going to be supportive of this. But the average libertarian, independent, a person in the middle is going to sit there and say, you know what? I'm in with this guy. So this is a very problematic season for the left. And the only way they can do it is not with a candidate. It's with a negative, deceptive strategy to get him out.
And when that situation happened, I think most people were like, wow, that's crazy. It's just a bad situation. It kind of sucks that a lot of people refuse to admit that, but at least that's what I thought. But if you have any suggestions for me, comment down below. It's LFR Jojo, and I'll see you in the next one.